If you've been running Home Assistant for a while, then things can get a little messy behind the scenes. Devices come and go, experiments get abandoned, and over time your system fills up with leftovers you don't even realize are there. In this video, I'll show you how to clean all of this up so that your Home Assistant stays not only organized, but most importantly, keeps performing at its best. Hey everyone, my name's Simon and welcome to Byte of Geek, a channel that's all about Home Assistant and smart home technology. In this video, I want to talk about how you can clean up your Home Assistant instance to get rid of all those old entities, the references in scripts and automations that maybe you no longer use, and basically all the rubbish that will have accumulated over the course of you using Home Assistant. Now, what I would say is that it's only worth going through this process when you've had Home Assistant running for a while, or perhaps you've been learning how to use Home Assistant and you've been installing and uninstalling different things, renaming devices and so on, in which case you've likely built up orphaned entities or scripts that may be referring to things that no longer exist. I'm going to go through several different ways in which you can help keep your system running at its best just by performing a little housekeeping occasionally. So first off then, we're going to be using an integration called Watchman, and this is going to look at what we have set up in Home Assistant and generate a report for us to tell us what things we need to investigate and potentially fix. To install this, you're going to need to have hacks installed in Home Assistant, and if you haven't got hacks installed, then I've got a great step-by-step video on the channel that shows you how to install this. I'll put a link for that down below in the description of this video. With hacks installed, then we just go over to that in our sidebar and click on it, and then in the search at the top we type in Watchman and you should have it come up in the results. Click on it and you should then have the details displayed. So just go ahead and click on the download button in the bottom right corner. We just want the latest version, so click on the download again. Now, once that is downloaded, we just need to restart Home Assistant so that the integration becomes activated. So I'll go ahead and do that now. Once Home Assistant has restarted, we need to head into our settings and integrations and click on the Add Integration button in the bottom right corner and search for Watchman and add that to Home Assistant. Watchman should then just ask you for what area it's located. So I'm putting mine in my office and then just clicking on Save. And I normally reboot Home Assistant at this point. So once that's done, go back into Settings and Integrations and scroll down to Watchman, as we now need to configure this according to our requirements. Click on Watchman and on the next screen, click on the Configure cog and you should have a pop-up displayed like this. As you can see, right at the top of the pop-up, there is a link to be able to read all about the settings for this, and I suggest you do that so that you can configure it in a way that works for you. However, in this screen, you can exclude entities from the scan. So these might be things that you already know about. Maybe you're working on building out a new automation and things are a bit all over the place, then you could do that here. You can also exclude entities based on their state. So maybe you have things that you only use partially during the year and for some reason you disable them, then you might want to exclude them here as well. You can also ignore files. So an example here might be if you wanted to not have Watchman check over one of your sensor YAML files, then you could specify that here. And if you have that kind of configuration in a folder, then you can wildcard the folder and have it ignore the whole lot. However, if you want to just see what it finds when it runs, then you can just leave everything as it is here and then click on the Submit button. So you can run the Watchman report manually, and it's a good idea to do this just to try out your settings to make sure you're happy with what you've got set up. After this, however, you could easily set this up on an automation to run on a schedule and even mail it out or send it out via a messenger service such as Telegram. Just be mindful that if things are really bad on your system, then your report might be quite large and you might need to use the chunk option in the configuration just to break the output down a little. If I now generate this report against my system, we'll see exactly what Watchman finds and reports on. So To do this, I'm going to go into Developer Tools and then Actions. Then I'm going to type in Watchman. Then I'm going to run the report. I'm not going to specify any options here. I'm just going to run this as it is. So I'll just click on the Perform Action button. And as you can see here, it's output a lot of information that it's gone and found. However, this is just what Developer Tools is showing us. If we want to view the report, then we can go into our file editor and open it up. And if I just select the Watchman report file, and as we can now see, this is the formatted output that makes it just a little easier to read and understand. So for me, I've got some missing entities, mainly because I no longer have that car, and whilst I've uninstalled the integration, clearly there's some things still left behind. I've also got a smart plug showing there as well, which is a little odd, so I'll need to have a look into that. I've got some disabled entities, so these are from my rubbish and recycling collection, and I know all about those, so those are fine. Next, I've got a few things that are unavailable, and again, they're fine. They're all devices that need their batteries replacing, and they will come back online when that's gone and done, so they should automatically not appear the next time this report is run. I've then got some issues in my automations YAML file. Looks like there's some items which are referenced that are either missing or unavailable, and so that will be causing automations not to work correctly if they're still enabled. Following that, I've got some issues with my scripts YAML file, and this is coming from some YAML that someone shared online, and I've added it to my file, and it's all in German, and basically I was intending on converting that to English but haven't got around to it. However, none of this is currently used. And finally, it looks like I've got an issue with a reference to Open Weather Map, which I believe was to do with the YAML that I copied into my scripts file, and I don't use that, so I can absolutely remove that as well. So I don't think this is too bad, and it seems straightforward enough to sort all of that out. And obviously, if issues were found elsewhere in my system, then they would all be listed here as well. And if you enjoy smart home content like this, then why not hit the like button and subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss my next video. But if I wanted to exclude some of those entities from the next report, say for example the two that are used in my rubbish collection, then I just need to pop the entity name shown in the report into this box on the Watchman settings, and as there are two of them that I'm going to be excluding, I just need to add a comma separator between them. For entities referenced in the scripts YAML file, then I'll need to open that in File Editor, and you can see the line number where it's referenced in the file. So if I just go to that, and as you can see in the file, it matches, so I can just delete that line if it's not required. Now, over time, as your smart home develops with integrations being added and removed, devices being deleted and things being renamed, you'll inevitably end up with orphaned entities in Home Assistant. These are entities that still exist in Home Assistant but are no longer linked to whatever created them in the first place. Now, having a small number of these is unlikely to cause any real problems other than being an inconvenience with them appearing in the user interface. But if they start building up into the hundreds or even thousands, then they can start to impact performance of your system. So it's a good habit to get into, to be building up a routine to remove these if they're no longer required. You can see orphaned entities if you go to Settings and then Devices and Services, and then click on the Entities tab at the top of the screen. And as you can see here, I've got quite a few listed from Browser Mod, and then there's some from when I've been testing cameras out that have been left behind. They're there as well. And to get rid of them, we just need to click on the entity, and then in the pop-up window, click the cog icon, and then in that pop-up window, click the delete option in the bottom left corner, and then just confirm that you want to delete it. You just need to make sure they're no longer required before you go ahead and start deleting them. And when you're done, I would just give Home Assistant a quick reboot as well. Now, another area to keep an eye on is the statistics, and this is data that is recorded from your devices in your smart home, the data that you see in those graphs and values. Over time, as you remove or rename devices, when devices go offline or provided information changes, you start to build up issues in the recorded data, which you can see in the statistics. So to view this, you go into Settings and Developer Tools, and at the top of the screen you have the various options available, and here we have statistics, and if you click on this then you'll see all the entities that are being recorded in your system. As you can see here at the top, I've got a number of them that have a little fix issue icon alongside them, and if I just click on one of them then it tells me that there's no state at the moment, and if it's an orphaned entity then I might want to remove the recorded statistics from the database. So only you will be able to make that judgment, but certainly if you've been through your orphaned entities and removed them from Home Assistant, then you can likely remove the statistics as well from the database. The next thing I want to talk about is another integration that will help you keep on top of any issues, just like those I've mentioned in the video, and that is something called Spook, which has been developed by Frank Niehoff, who I'm sure many will be familiar with from Home Assistant. Spook is an integration that has a dual purpose, with it enhancing functionality of Home Assistant and kind of filling some of the gaps that you might need as you become more accustomed to the system. And it also has a nice additional feature, and then it basically operates in the background and looks for issues in your Home Assistant instance, and then it will report on them as issues for you to repair. So for example, if you removed a device from Home Assistant, then Spook would then notify you that you need to update an automation or a dashboard that is using the entities from that device. I've been using Spook for quite a while now, and it's a great addition to have in Home Assistant. This again is something that is installed via hacks, so we just go over to that in our sidebar, and then in the search at the top we type in Spook, and you should just have it come up in the results. Click on it and you should then have the details displayed, so just go ahead and click on the download button in the bottom right corner. We just want the latest version, so click on the download again. Once that is downloaded, we just need to restart Home Assistant so that the integration becomes activated. So I'll go ahead and do that. And then once Home Assistant has restarted, we need to head into our settings and integrations and click on the Add Integration button in the bottom right corner and search for Spook, and then add that to Home Assistant. Now you'll get a little prompt to check that you've read the details about this integration, and if you're happy with what it does, then you can just click on the Submit button, after which you'll get the option to restart Home Assistant again, which is what I usually do. Once Home Assistant has restarted, then Spook will now just run in the background. You can see all the entities it has, and certainly for now it won't have found anything to alert you about, but when it does find something, then as I said earlier, it will be shown as a repair in Home Assistant settings. And finally, the last piece of the puzzle is your Home Assistant log files, and these can hold vital information with regards to the stability of your system, and it's something you should be checking on a regular basis to ensure everything is running as smooth as possible. So if we go into Settings and then System and then Logs, and by default you'll be shown the Home Assistant core log file, and as you can see here on my system, I've got a mix of warnings and errors showing up. I've got some warnings to do with a device connected to MQTT, one from an integration, some from my Blu-ray player, and then I've got an error, and this one is from a SwitchBot device, which, just looking at the error, indicates that it's to do with the purifier, so one to investigate there. I've got a couple of template errors which are fine because I know the issue with that, and then I've got a couple of warnings from some integrations. So with the integrations, it might be good to visit the GitHub repository for the integration to see if there are any open issues about that, and if not, then actually create a new report of the error and see what happens. You can view other logs here as well, so we've got the Supervisor Logs, and as you can see, that's mostly warnings from Zigbee2MQTT and information entries, so I'm not too worried about the warnings, but certainly if there were errors listed, then I'd be investigating those further. If I go into the Zigbee2MQTT logs here, You can see I've actually got an error listed, and whilst Zigbee2MQTT is running okay, there's actually an error from one of the devices in the mesh in that it can't find a route to the device, and that's because the device is currently switched off. So again, nothing for me to worry about here. So there you go, some useful ways to help you find and remove the clutter in your Home Assistant instance that's been building up as you've been creating your smart home. It really does add up over time, and with these you can now help keep on top of things going forward. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, then don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss more smart home content like this. But as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.